In this video, we're going to be walking through part 1 of this 4-part series that is me walking through my exact process of detailing the exterior of my customers' vehicles. What's going on? Glad you're here and welcome back to the Wilson Auto Detailing community. If you're a pro auto detailer or just a car enthusiast who loves everything auto detailing, then definitely consider subscribing. So in this part 1 video of the 4-part series of the exterior detailing process that I use and the exact sequence I use, I want to give you guys a little bit of context before I actually start this so you guys can see the beginning all the way to the end, just to see the before and after. I'll start down here at the wheels. Now, number one, this is a Toyota Prius that is not really maintained on the outside. It's maybe been waxed once or twice in its entire lifetime, so there's really no protection on it. You guys can see, of course, again, even just with these wheels, with the tires, with the wheel wells, very, very dirty and really not maintained. I know I'm in the shade right now, so it could be difficult to pick up on some of this surface dirt. However, you guys can see pretty well. It's got your average just like bugs, right? Tree sap, rock chips, scratches, a bunch of surface dirt, especially from these salty roads because it just recently got cold and it actually snowed just a little while ago. So I'll go to the other side as well so you guys can see the front as well as the driver's side. All the paint down here, particularly the lower rocker panels, are going to be dirtier. This is kind of what the before looks like. So what does this part 1 and this series look like? So before we start, let me explain what I'm going to be doing in this part 1. We're going to be dealing with 3 major things. Number 1, tires. Number 2, wheel wells. And number 3, the wheels themselves, the inside barrel, the face of the wheels, all that stuff. The reason I'm doing that, I like to start with the wheels and the tires because they tend to be the dirtiest part of the car other than the lower part of the paint, because for obvious reasons the tires are the things that are actually on the road. Of course, there's tons of brake dust and things like that that build up on the wheels, and then of course the tires sling up all kinds of tar, dirt, grease, grime into the wheel wells themselves, and so I like to go from dirtiest to cleanest for obvious reasons. So let's go ahead and get into how I do this, show you guys my tools. So obviously I have my hose behind me because I'm going to need some like free-flowing water, particularly because this is so dirty. The wheel wells, the tires, and the wheel itself have not been maintained again, so when I'm in a case like this, I'm going to have to use some sort of like free-flowing water. There are times where you do not have to use water to do this kind of thing, particularly on maintenance vehicles. Now the first tool I have here is my long-handled feathered wheel brush, or wheel well brush, and of course I'm going to be using this to scrub inside and kind of get in the difficult spaces to get with my hand in the wheel well. Secondly, I've got my Speedmaster brush right here. Works great at getting in the barrel of the wheel so I can get on the inside there and get all of that brake dust off. Now thirdly, I have actually a tool from Max Shine. It's very similar to the Speedmaster brush, but it's actually a much smaller version, so you guys can see the difference here. Now Speedmaster actually also has a version of this, but again, this is from a company called Max Shine, which I partner with and love what they do, love the products they put out. Now these other 2 brushes are also from Max Shine as well. Here is a tire brush, and here is another really just detailing brush, but I'm going to be using it on the wheels here, on the face of the wheel, to get inside of these nuts and bolts at all of the difficult areas. Now the products I'm going to be using is number 1, a product by Meguiar's. It's called Meguiar's Wheel Brightener. It's an acidic cleaner. I use it diluted 5:1, and then Super Clean Degreaser. This is not diluted at all. This will be used on the tire and the wheel well. Now the order in which you do this, I would not say is of like incredible importance. If you want to start with the wheels, the tires, or the wheel wells, it's really all going to be fine. Some people say you want to start with the wheel wells because you don't want to clean this and then have the dirt fall onto it. It's really not a big deal because none of that dirt is going to stick, so when you spray with the hose, all of it's going to fall off anyways. So I'm just going to start with the tire. I like to do that. There's no particular reason. Number 1, I'm going to wet the tire just a little bit. I'm not trying to soak it or anything, but I just want to have my cleaner move around a little bit easier, so I just wet the wheel as well as the tire, and then I take my Super Clean Degreaser. I'm just going to be very, very liberal with it on the tire, not trying to hold back. I do want to use a pretty good amount of degreaser when I'm doing this kind of thing, and though I a lot of times use a drill brush on tires, I am trying to test out some more brushes and products right now. So again, here's a brush from Max Shine, a tire brush, super firm bristles, super easy to use, and I'm just going to literally scrub the entire sidewall of the tire very simply with this tire brush. Now, a quick note, when you're cleaning the sidewalls of tires. There's this brown film, this brown grunge that will build up, and the difficult part with this is that the brown grunge sometimes is dirt, and then it's sometimes actually this anti-ozonate that these tire companies actually manufacture into the rubber of the tire itself. If you want more information on that, check out the YouTube card I'm linking up. It'll take you to my website, detailingjunk.com, and I explain that a little bit there in the tire section that the link will take you to. But basically, I'm gonna scrub the sidewall of this tire twice because it's extra dirty, because it hasn't been cleaned in a very long time. But with other vehicles, I would probably just leave the sidewall alone after I went ahead and scrubbed it once, because again, that anti-ozonate will actually come to the surface because of the chemicals you're using, and that brown grunge could actually be that chemical that protects the tire, not actually dirt that needs to be scrubbed off. So again, one more pass and I'll be done with the sidewall of this tire. Now, one quick note about this, you might be able to tell that the suds right here, after I just got done scrubbing, they're not completely white, but they're much, much, much whiter than the first pass. Number one, that means the dirt is being cleaned off. Number two, it means I'm safe to stop here, because I actually really don't want the cleaner to be completely white, because I do want that anti-ozonate to still, be on the surface, because again, it actually protects the rubber and helps it from cracking and degrading so quickly. So this is actually a color that's good to stop at. So I'm gonna go ahead and hose it off, and then we'll move on. Now, after I do the sidewall of the tire, I like to go ahead and move to the wheel itself. Now, a couple notes here. I am using, again, Meguiar's Wheel Brightener, which is an acidic cleaner. Again, there's tons of information about acidic and non-acidic wheel cleaners on my website under wheel cleaners. But basically, here's a good rule of thumb. I'm gonna use an acidic wheel cleaner when I'm dealing with a wheel that is factory clear coated, meaning the clear coat that is on the wheel was there when the car got manufactured. It was there, it was put on by the manufacturer, the factory itself, and there's been no wheel changes, right? This isn't like a Camaro where my customer is a car enthusiast and he's actually bought new wheels to put on the car that he likes that were $10,000 a piece and that are not factory clear coated, because basically the problem is this acidic wheel cleaner will do nothing to plastic. It's not going to harm any sort of plastic, and at the end of the day, clear coat is more or less a form of plastic. You guys can see it's in a plastic bottle, right? It's not eating away this bottle. However, if it does get on straight bare metal or like bare aluminum or alloy wheels, that can be a huge problem. So I carry a non-acidic wheel cleaner with me as well. But again, you guys can see as I use this cleaner, it's not going to actually harm anything. So what I'm going to do first as I clean these wheels is I'm actually going to spray the wheel cleaner inside of the barrel of the wheel. I'm not going to worry about the face right now. I'm just going to spray it on the inside, and I'm going to be using my smaller wheel kind of interior wheel barrel brush from Max Shine here, and I'm also going to be using the Speedmaster here. I'll probably be using more of the brush from Max Shine because these are a bit tighter areas and I need something smaller. But again, I always scrub the interior barrel of the wheel first before I actually hit the exterior or the face of the wheel, just because you're pulling in and out and you're getting a ton of dirt on the face of the wheel when you clean the interior. And again, I don't want to have to go over and over and over again on different areas because I'm cleaning them and then getting dirt on them again. So your sequence is very, very important. I'll even get some of this cleaner on the brush itself, and then I'm just gonna go on the interior here and scrub. Now these bristles are very, very soft, so they're not gonna hurt anything. And there's a rubber tip here on the end of the brush so that I'm not gonna be scraping anything. But again, having this smaller brush here is just so useful in so many situations, and particularly right here. Now, it's easy to get a lot of dirt on yourself when you're using a brush like this because the bristles kind of almost like act like a slingshot or a catapult when they're being pulled inside and outside, but that's just kind of the nature of the beast here, and not a lot I can do about it. So again, not a ton of method to this other than just trying to scrub and work up that brake dust. The reason why I love using an acidic wheel cleaner is because acid reacts so well with brake dust, and brake dust can be so difficult if you don't have the right cleaner and the right product because it's actually a corrosive substance. So if it stays on metal too long, it'll actually corrode into the metal. So it's just a very strong thing that has to be cleaned off with a strong chemical. And so that's why this acid wheel cleaner, I just love it. Meguiar's Wheel Brightener, again, some people really hate that acid. They say, I want something pH balanced. Well, this has never damaged any wheel I've ever used it on, even over and over again for years, and it's so effective. It's a fantastic product. So now that I've cleaned the interior of the barrel of the wheel, basically what I'm gonna do is take my wheel cleaner. Again, I'm gonna be very liberal with it, not worried about how much I'm using. Again, overspray on the paint, on the sidewall, not gonna hurt anything whatsoever. So I'm spraying it all on the face of the wheel here, and then I'm going to be taking my detailing brush right here, getting a little wet. Again, this is another brush by Max Shine I've been trying out, and I love these kind of brushes for this kind of application because the brake dust that's on the face of the wheel itself is never very intense, and I say never, that's an oversimplification. It's sometimes very intense because the wheel has just like literally never been cleaned. But again, with a wheel like this that's just not too dirty, the brake dust on the inside that I just cleaned is much more difficult to clean, generally speaking, than it is to clean something like this on the face of the wheel. So all this really takes is a little bit of agitation, not actually, a ton of scrubbing. Sometimes, particularly with my maintenance clients, I can literally just spray Meguiar's Wheel Brightener on the wheel and hose it off, and that literally works to clean the entire wheel because it's cleaned very regularly, so that brake dust doesn't have time to bond intensely to the wheel, and it's very easy to clean off. So, another brush I really like to use for wheels is by Chemical Guys. It's their long boar's hair brush. I like the longer bristles as well when I'm dealing with things like this. But basically one thing that all these brushes have in common, whether it's the long boar's hair brush or this brush by Max Shine, is the bristles are super soft, particularly at the end, almost like makeup brushes are, but they're very stiff at the same time, so they're not gonna scratch any part of the wheel, but they're gonna clean really effectively. Now, the last thing I like to do when it comes to wheels, tires, and wheel wells are, you guessed it, the wheel wells. I like to clean wheel wells last. Again, not for any particular reason other than it's just kind of the way I've always done things. So number one, I spray inside the wheel well to kind of loosen up any of the dirt. Now after I've done that, I'm gonna take my super clean degreaser, and again, this is full strength. Now I am careful in cases like this. I don't wanna spray it full strength on the paint and just let it sit. Though you might get a little overspray, you don't really have to worry about it. I've never ever damaged any paint whatsoever using super clean like this, particularly with overspray. So I am gonna be spraying it on the lip of the wheel well, as well as all over the interior. Now this is particularly a place where you want to use a lot of cleaner. I'm gonna wet the tip of my brush here, you guys can see, but again, there's not a ton of skill that's involved in this particular area. I'm gonna make sure that I scrub the painted lip of the wheel well, as well as kind of the deeper interior parts, but again, I'm just scrubbing until I can kind of remove all of that dirt. Now what you'll find as you do this is there's a lot of wheel wells that have been so not maintained and not cleaned for such a long time that they've got road paint on it, they've got road tar, and all sorts of stuff that not only has chipped the wheel well and literally damaged it, but it's also kind of become more or less permanent, and the only way to get it off would be to scrub with like lacquer thinner or something in there. And so unless your customer is paying for a service like that for you to perfect their wheel wells that haven't been detailed in 10 years, I really wouldn't worry about that too badly. So scrub these to the best of your ability, but again, if what's on there is just dirt and mud and average, salt from the roads in the wintertime like this is, because it's about 32 degrees out here right now and we just had a little bit of snow, then all of that is going to come off with degreaser. If it's not coming off with full strength degreaser and serious agitation, you're dealing with something that's probably, in my experience, more intense. It would require something like lacquer thinner or like like Citrol or Rapid Remover, which you can use and scrub as well, and that might take care of it. But again, wheel wells are one of those things where it's like you can clean them to a certain degree, but they're so damaged a lot of times, especially on big trucks, so chipped, so frayed, so damaged, the plastic is so scratched that even when it's clean, it still looks dirty. So don't be too hard on yourself in this area. And again, I'm not saying take shortcuts, but this is just a more difficult area. So now I'm gonna go ahead and do the other 3 in the exact same way that I just did this one. Now I'm gonna let it dry before we give you a final look, but I'll give you just a little bit of taste of kind of what this looks like. Again, we're in the shade, so I'm just gonna let it dry on its own. There's not gonna be any water spots. I don't have to worry about it any high level. A couple notes real fast. You guys saw that as I hosed off this area, number 1, I hosed off this kind of just top almost painted part of the wheel well right there, just this fender well, just because I got a little bit of overspray on this area right here as I was scrubbing, and I just don't want it to sit there. It's not going to damage anything for the amount of time it was there, but again, I just don't want something like that to sit there. And then you guys saw that afterwards I not only sprayed and washed off the entire wheel well, but also just the whole face of the wheel, the sidewall, because again, some of that dirt falls down. Not an issue. Again, it's not going to stick. The hose washes all that off, but I just kind of do a final rinsing like that. So again, very, very simple. Not a lot of skill in this area. A little bit of know-how so you don't damage something, but I'm gonna go ahead and do the other tires back there and the 2 on the driver's side as well, and bring you guys in for the final dry look. So now I want to go ahead and take you guys around to all of the tires, the wheels, and the wheel wells that we just finished, just to explain a few things and give you guys the after result. So you guys can see, here's the first tire that I cleaned. It's almost completely dry, tiny little bit of wet spot over here on the right side. And I know we're in the shade, and sometimes the shade flatters things a little bit, but I'll go ahead and start with the wheel well and try to focus in here so you can see. Hopefully you guys can see, even though I know the lighting's not very good, it's difficult to get very good lighting. Hopefully you guys can see that it's really just black in there, and that's what we want, right? We want the original color of that wheel well, that original just black plastic kind of appearance there. So you can see all the dirt is gone. There's definitely some chips. There's some water that is still drying, but again, totally cleaned now. The tire sidewall here, you guys can see that black, just kind of pale black, almost like muted black color. That's what I'm looking for, right? That is what I want. Now you guys can see a little bit of the anti-ozonant here in this area that comes up, this tire blooming effect. Again, that's not grease or grime or dirt. That is actually built into the rubber on purpose to keep it from, or just to make it last longer, basically. Now you guys can see the tire sidewall looks perfect. All that dirt that you saw firsthand, that grease grime, totally gone. I just did 2 passes here, and I actually only did 1 pass with the degreaser and the brushes after that. So you guys can see, this is what I want. This is the kind of color I'm looking for before I dress a tire. Now I know there's nothing on this sidewall that's going to inhibit the dressing from bonding to the rubber in the kind of maximum capacity that I'm looking for. Now, you guys can see that rust on the brake pad back there. That's actually just a reaction that happens with chemical and water. Sometimes it even happens when it's raining outside and your car is stationary. As soon as you drive and hit the brakes, that's gonna just shave all that off. That's not any sort of damage or anything. Again, it's just a chemical reaction that happens that will go away as soon as you drive. And now the face and the interior of the wheel. If you guys can see the interior, there's no brake dust whatsoever. I can take my hand just like this, and again, absolutely no dirt whatsoever. On the interior here, nothing, right? Totally dry and totally clean, and it just looks fantastic, right? Just that shine. As soon as I wax it, it's just gonna pop even more so. And again, the face of the wheel totally clean in these areas right here. Got all those with the brushes, still drying a little bit, but again, just looks totally fantastic and clean. So wheel wells, wheels, inner barrel of the wheels, and tire sidewall totally finished on every single part of the car here. I'll go to this side as well. You guys can see just same results over here, right? And again, back here is drying, but still looks fantastic. So quick recap real fast of the tools and products. Number 1, Super Clean Degreaser. I use it on the wheel wells, as well as the tire sidewalls. I use it full strength. I do not dilute it. The second product I use is Meguiar's Wheel Brightener, diluted 5:1. It's an acidic cleaner. Again, you gotta be safe with it. Make sure you know what you're doing, but it's very effective. Now, for those of you who are wondering, many guys who use the 2-bucket wash method, they ask me, how many buckets do you use to clean wheels? Well, you guys just saw I don't use any buckets to clean the wheel, right? I use a product and a couple different brushes, and then I'm done. I'm not having to ever dip a brush back into dirty solution and then bringing it back on the wheel, right? So everything is clean as soon as I touch the wheel, right? Every brush gets washed off and cleaned in between every time I use it on the different wheels. So I'm not a huge proponent of using like a 2-bucket method, not just on the paint, but also on the wheels, because I actually would say that when you follow that to its logical conclusion, it really doesn't minimize scratching at the degree you think it's going to. But just for those of you who are wondering, again, you just saw I don't use any amount of buckets when I'm cleaning tires, wheels, and wheel wells. So Super Clean Degreaser and Meguiar's Wheel Brightener are the 2 products. And then the other brushes I used, I try to experiment with a lot of different brushes, but in this case, I used a wheel brush for the inner barrel, for the face of the wheel, as well as the tire. All 3 of those were from Max Shine. And then I used my long-handled feathered soft brush for the wheel well itself to scrub in there. Listen, if you guys want to check out or purchase any of the products or tools used in the part 1 section of this video, whether it be the brushes or the chemicals, I'm gonna hook all that stuff up in the YouTube description box below. You'll see Amazon links. If you do buy those through my links, it does give this channel a small commission, but it helps this channel stay alive. You can also find those products on my website, detailingjunk.com. So there it is for part 1 of the 4-part process that I'm breaking this playlist up into for complete exterior detailing. Again, that's part 1. I start with wheel wells, wheels, and tires. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up button, and if you have any questions, comments, concerns, hook up all that stuff in the YouTube comments below. Now definitely check out the other 3 parts of this video in the playlist, because I go step by step on exactly what my sequence is, my tools, my products, and all the little nuggets of wisdom in between, and so it's probably going to be of value for you. Now, if you are a pro detailer or a car enthusiast and you love everything auto detailing, then definitely consider subscribing to the Wilson Auto Detailing channel. And as always, from Luke here at Wilson Auto Detailing, keep working hard, and I will see you guys in the next video.